Oh, hi, Mark. Well, since the last video, I've had a nap, and I've had a shower, which is why my hair's all, you know, it's all poofy now. Anyway, it's not what we're here to talk about. So, this is Gutting the Collection, episode 2, and in this episode we have Count Yorga Vampire. So if you're unfamiliar with Gutting the Collection, and you probably are or should be, since I kind of just started doing this series with the last movie, Blood. The concept of it is I do very brief reviews of horror movies in my collection that I've never seen, and I decide whether I am going to keep it or sell it, toss it, get rid of it. So, Count Yorga Vampire is a movie from 1970, I think it came out in. Hi, Quinn, how you darn? 1970, and it's a vampire movie. Big surprise, I know. Basically, there's this vampire living in modern day, some city or another. You like how knowledgeable I am? Yeah, I pay real good attention. Anyway, but he's a vampire living amongst modern people, and it's funny because he's posing as a spiritualist, but like if you look at the guy for like 2 seconds, you're like, that guy's a fucking vampire. Now, obviously, the characters don't think that because they too live in a rational world where vampires don't exist. And I put rational in quotation marks because obviously it's a vampire movie. There's nothing rational about it. But in the context of the movie, like, they're living in the same reality as we are, right? And basically people begin disappearing around this Count Yorga fellow, and this group of friends slowly starts to piece together that, maybe he's a vampire because there's some weird shit going on. And they have this guy named Dr. Hayes come in on the fold, and he's a blood doctor, and he's seeing these weird consistencies in people's blood work. And it is a pretty interesting movie, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Count Yorga Vampire. What's funny is this was a recent pickup. I picked it up for $1 at a local flea market, and I was just kind of like, I don't normally find like older horror films, out in the wild anymore. Typically, it's just like I own most of the horror movies that I really care to own, and the ones that I don't, I'm going to have to go online for. And I just kind of accept that as a reality now because they're either obscure enough or the editions that I want are nice enough that I'm just not going to find them out in the wild. But this movie was an exception, and I honestly wasn't expecting much. If you look at that cover, that looks pretty bad, to be honest with you. The font is kind of like funky, and it's from 1970, so that's more or less what I expected. I expected like a 70s funk going on, and it's not that at all. This is very much so sort of mimicking old school Hammer horror, things like Horror of Dracula. But yeah, it's a little more 70s than Horror of Dracula. But it isn't cheesy. It's not, I don't know, our characters aren't hippies. Everything's still very classy. They're drinking brandy. The characters are actually pretty likable in the movie. What I didn't expect, probably what I expected least of all, actually, is that the acting was halfway decent. I enjoy pretty much all of our main characters. Now, I do say halfway decent because Bowser's just sitting back there grumbling. Yeah? You want to tell us more? You... What? Tell me all about it. going on? Yeah. Um, I say halfway decent because it's not fantastic. This isn't like modern acting that we're getting here. It is very much so like 70s stoicism. You know what I mean? Like old school actors didn't really go for the wide range of emotions that were really necessary to be able to convincingly convey what is going on. They had an element of stoicism to them pretty much always. Hey, nice tail, pal. Yeah, you're cooling the people off with that breeze there, bud. But that being said, it's still like it's pretty decent acting, and as I said, the characters are good, and I really enjoy the guy that plays Count Yorga. I do. Or Count Yorga. It's actually pretty funny. It's spelled Yorga on the DVD case here. His name is Count Yorga, like Iorga in the movie, which I know because I watched it with subtitles, because I watch everything with subtitles. But I really enjoy his performance. He's very menacing, very sinister. So that's that's a nice plus to the movie. Some of the character decisions are questionable, but that's going to be a thing in pretty much every movie, every horror movie, I should say. And I really enjoy the atmosphere. This is a movie, which this is just kind of a common thing with old school vampire movies. He just curled up like a donut, dude. He's standing up, curled up like a donut. There we go. Yeah. It's just kind of a common thing in old vampire movies, is that the atmosphere is just going to be great. And it's going to be something that you could easily watch on a cool, crisp October night, and get your spooky fix. And I love that. I love that in every movie. So, for the sake of keeping this brief, in this episode of Gutting the Collection, Bowser, Cerberus, Quinn, and I will be keeping Count Yorga Vampire, and I will be watching this a few more times in my lifetime at least. I do like this movie. Till next time, I hope to see you guys on the next one.